Welcome to Thriving with Chiropractic, where Dr. Mosier from Mosier Family Chiropractic shares a variety of topics designed to empower, inspire, and give hope. Take a few notes and enjoy the lesson.
Well, hey folks, this is Dr. Mosier here, and I am so excited. I have a mentor of mine, a special guest, Dr. Justin Wubben. He has been really a phenomenal impact in my life, both in chiropractic, but as a Christian father, a Christian husband, and I am so excited for you to join us. I do want to share a funny story with you, Dr. Wubben. We were flying home from Florida. We visited my parents, and Isaiah was sitting right next to me, and he's hanging on to my arms as we're taking off, or if there's any turbulence or anything. And you could tell he's nervous, right? He's just, he's 4, he's nervous. He doesn't fly on planes very much. And he's like, "Daddy, I'm brave," and I'm like, yes, he's already, doing positive reinforcing affirmations. So I'm so excited. And that's something you've actually instilled in me, is to speak truth into your life, speak wisdom. And I greatly appreciate that. But getting started, my first question is, Dr. Wubben, what is your chiropractic story? Why are you a chiropractor?
Awesome. Well, first off, thanks for having me here this morning. And I think that we all have our own unique journeys. Some have big stories, some have little stories. And mine was more of a gradual. I was junior year of high school. I was out running cross country. My hip locked up and I couldn't even take a step. And my mom said, "You should go to a chiropractor." And I said, "What is chiropractor?" And they had little did I know that adjustment changed my life, because the next day was career day. It was junior year of high school. And I had a great adjustment. And the career person who said, "What do you want to do with your life?" And I said, "I don't know. That chiropractic thing was pretty neat." And so as I went through my journey, actually, I had a mentor. I'm 6'6", so that's kind of tall, but my mentor was 7'1", so I literally looked up to him on 2 levels. But anyways, he was a chiropractor. I was like, "I don't know, that's pretty neat." So I started to go into it. And I kind of went into it more of, hey, well, it's about low back pain and headaches and, that type of stuff. And the more and more I got into it, especially out of chiropractic school, I found out how much more it was more than just low back pain. I had seasonal allergies. I had kissing tonsils, sinus infections, all those things in my life. My tonsils were the size of golf balls, like this, for like 20 some years. And I was told to have my sinuses, the adenoids removed and the tonsils removed. And I never did. But it wasn't until I lived a chiropractic lifestyle outside of chiropractic for about 2 years, and all of a sudden my tonsils went back to normal. And I didn't know, because it was so gradual. One day I looked in the mirror. I was like, "Where'd my tonsils go?" And they actually receded back to normal. And so between heart palpitations, seasonal allergies, sinus issues, again, as a chiropractor, you don't treat those things. But the same thing is they actually resolved. And so through that, I wanted to know more. I wanted to know why. I wanted to know why these things helped me. And that kind of led me on my journey. And we met at a mutual chiropractic event. And through that, you just learn more and more and more. And so when you're a student for life, when you have patients that you want to serve and they have all these health challenges, you want to help people. And I think that kind of has evolved into more once you started helping certain patients get more confident and see those results come. I don't know. Then I think that's when I really became a chiropractor. When I stepped into it's more than just low back pain and headaches, though it does help with that. But typically that's what brings us in the office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, so it's fun. It's a gradual journey. I think that's the best part. And I'm still becoming a chiropractor, even though we've hit some goals to help people and lectures and stuff. But you evolve, and it's fun just to see those breakthroughs. But when a patient cries and says, "Hey, thank you," that's when you become a chiropractor even more. It fires you up to help people. I know that's one of your passions. So that's kind of my journey and my story, but
absolutely. Fun. I love it. And then that's one of the many things that you've instilled in me is lifelong learning. We're always growing. If you never want to be stagnant. And you kind of mentioned something, you and I as well, but you have patients, tears in their eyes. Thank you. You've radically changed my life. So really, I want to get into it. What's the most memorable patient story that you can tell us?
When you've been in practice for over a decade, it's kind of fun because you start running through, you're like, gosh dang it, that one and that one and that one. Some of the most memorable ones, like my pastor fell 60 feet rock climbing in 2006 and shattered his pelvis. And, he went and he had surgery. But he got to the point where his kids couldn't jump on him, couldn't play with him, do anything. And, his wife referred him in, and he was obviously, those people are skeptical, which is fine. I think we all love those because they're misinformed potentially, or maybe they had a bad experience, but he just didn't know or scared. Let's fast forward, he was sore, he was doing better and better and better. And then he's to the point now, got 5 screws in his pelvis like this. His ankles like fused together, and no one would touch him as a chiropractor. And I just love the heavy cases, the ones that are hopeless. But he's in the point now. He's working out in the gym. He says, he just came in. That was darn near a decade ago. Yeah, he came in. He comes in for maintenance care, and he's like, nope, no low back pain, nothing. My ankle's a little stiff, but he's got his ankles fused. Pieces of bone missing. It's a little stiff. So. It's one of those things, and a funny kind of in that journey when I was helping him out, and I was asking him, because as a chiropractor, it's a 50-50 relationship. We do our part when patients have to do their part. And I remember when he's laying face down, I just remember the one visit specifically. I said, hey, are you doing your stretches each day? And without a beat, he didn't even look up. He goes, are you reading your Bible every day? I said, this is my pulpit, baby. We're actually mutual friends too, but he got me good on that one, which I've been more diligent on, which is great. But, through that, obviously I've been involved in my church. We've had a lot of patients from there too, but, I could go off of the patient who's had 24 years of migraines every day, 4 years, 4 days in a row, the longest is without having a migraine. And now she's like, sats up and says, today, Dr. Wubben, I'm at 100%. And she hasn't had a migraine over 8-9 years. Wow. You can get into pick your, when someone's stomach shuts down, has gastroparesis. And again, I wasn't treating that, but when you can eat applesauce for 8 months straight, if you'd imagine eating applesauce for 2 days in a row, but this gal had gastroparesis in 8 months straight. And now she's at that point. And again, that was about 6-8 years ago. And the same thing, the stomach gastro means, stomach paresis is paralysis. So her stomach, the brain was not communicating there. Now she eats food. She just had a baby not too long ago, like stuff that, careful. It might get started on what's my favorite case. I don't know, but those are the big ahas that really pop into into my mind. And it's fun. It's fulfilling.
Absolutely. There's even, cause I haven't been in practice as long as you have, but we're developing these cases of, wow, you just dramatically seeing God come in and really change these people's lives. And I'm looking forward to many more. You mentioned something, you've been in practice 10 years. You have all this success up there in Sioux Falls. And most of my audience that's listening to this is 6:30 a.m. So not a bad time for you. It's 5:30 a.m. So thank you so much for joining us. But you're changing how you practice. What's your new mission in chiropractic? I want to know. We want to know.
Right. So a few things. Back in 2018, I feel like God had a calling for me to actually help faith-based entrepreneurs. I just have this passion. It's fun to see yourself. From where you were, where you are, where you're going. That's super fun. But I just had this little bit extra vision, and I started going online because I just knew that's where the world was shifting prior to this past year and a half. And I just felt like that was my calling to reach people. So I practice was tick, 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 tick. And I started focusing heavily on helping faith-based entrepreneurs. And then when you start again, and so that was, I mean, this made sense. I was like, oh my gosh, this is my calling to do this. But then the practice started slipping, like, just when you don't focus on it. I mean, it's anything in life. It started going down, down, down. And then it was to the point where eventually just kind of the whole world shut down. And then eventually I said, no, I'm going to put my head back down into practice, forget what God called me to do, and with the patients. And we have now just kicked her right back up. And so there's a few things. Number one, the word is legacy. If I'm not able to take care of my patients' full attention, like if I'm, I was with the patient and boom, like 2 seconds off, I was like thinking about this. I spent a lot of time with my, away from my family, just whatever. But no, I went and I got things back up to actually quite a bit of higher level. But then all of a sudden, I hired an associate doc to pass the legacy on, because we can't do everything. I think it's the hardest thing. It's not just chiropractors. I think, the stressed out mom at home, all these different people, like, you can't do everything. You need a community to surround you. And so it is so powerful. And so anyways, that's kind of been through my journey. But recently we started diving into, with chiropractic. I mean, it's powerful. It's wonderful. I mean, I love this, but there was also a need that was missed. And I kind of started diving a little more into neuropathy. And it's kind of like where basically if many listeners don't know, it's kind of like with the legs, the nerves are basically dying in the legs. The peripheral nerves are in the legs, the feet, and the hands. And chiropractic is great. I mean, we've seen a lot of fun turnarounds with, a lot of those issues, and which is fun, but there's just a little bit extra focus on neuropathy, helping those patients. And it's kind of like anything, whatever you focus on. We went head down on that. And there are people they're driving a long, long ways, hopeless. They're told gabapentin, neurontin, Voltaren, and amitriptyline are their only answers in the medical model. And I'm not against medical doctors. I think they're great people. It's just, they're at Mayo and they're getting turned away saying nothing can be done. You got to live like this for the rest of your life. And they're facing basically wheelchairs or potentially amputations at the tail phases. And I like heavy neurological cases. I like big challenges. I love patients who say I'm too far gone or nothing can be done. I didn't like that. And again, I need mentors and friends. And one day I went up and visited him and I said, hey, what are you doing? He goes, man, I'm helping neuropathy. And oh my gosh, these people, they're grateful, they're thankful, they're optimistic. And you can't get people to perfect, and you give them an expectation right up front, but you average about 30 to 75% improvement. And you get your difficult cases that you just tell them right up front. Like when my dad had cancer, I went down to Omaha and they said, John, you got about a 50-50 chance of living. And he knew his risks and his odds. And so we're very transparent up front, saying, hey, if you're too far gone, I don't want to waste your time. But here's the thing. Most people are told they're too far gone, and it's not the truth. That's the part that breaks my heart, because here are the neurologists and medical doctors. And again, they're very high esteemed in the patient's eyes. And again, I respect them as colleagues too, but I just, we're not trained on the same thing. When you have drugs and surgery are the only options, because those medications I listed, Cymbalta, amitriptyline, are antipsychotic, anti-seizure medications. So they mask the brain's perception of the nerves that are dying in the legs and the feet. And that's what they won't, because it'll just keep going like this. And the second they try to take away, it's just, and the side effects are crazy. So anyways, that's kind of what we do with neuropathy is, flip things around that help with, nerve flow and then blood flow or even some oxygen levels as well. I mean, everybody's a little different on how, if you don't need it, you don't need it, but you just find what they're deficient in. And then I use a lifestyle health risk assessment, because that actually ties with my chiropractic model. How I assess is Dr. James Chestnut has a spinal health assessment, and he has a lifestyle health risk assessment that checks certain things. So when you're actually able to change someone's health and their lifestyle, heck, we had a 93-year-old guy from 2.5 hours away who couldn't feel his feet, like when he's driving. So the kids took away his driver's license. They're like, Dad, we'll never let you drive ever again. And he drove him to each of his appointments, and he lived 2.5 hours away. But the fun part was on his 90th visit, he drove his own self because he could feel his feet at 93. He's the most grateful, thankful person. But he's like, man, I don't have to drive around with cruise control in town anymore. And, and his kids were terrified, and they probably still are, because they're like, will this come back? But there's tons of those cases of just heavy. Sorry, I'm too old. That's a lie. Too far gone, not necessarily. But if you're at that point where your toes are already falling off, which is the later phase, it's tough. But the tough challenge is if nothing's done to save the rest of your foot or your ankle. I mean, worst case scenario, you don't lose your feet anymore. That's probably what I love about this. So I don't know, it's a different level that helps focus on the brain, the nervous system, and just the health of the individual. And you get to love on them. And I don't know, that's just been my passion and my focus lately. And I really like it. But legacy, I just hired a doc, and then I'm in the process of hiring another doc. So if I'm called to go again, serve the way I'm called to serve, help other different faith-based entrepreneurs realize that their business is their ministry. And as we've talked,
yes,
it's just that's just the game changer. But right now I'm just very head down on the people in front of me. Now it's my staff and my doctor, my current associate, I love hiring people who are better than what I can achieve. And I think I know I found one, which is good. I'm just looking for the next.
Awesome. That is so awesome. Well, neuropathy is definitely, it's a huge need, just by adjusting the feet, doing extremity adjustments, stimulating the nervous system. In our office, we have seen people be able to not fall so much, because when you can't feel your feet, can't feel your hands, you're more likely to fall. And so driving, falling, now you've told me that these people are on the verge of having their extremities amputated, removed, and you're literally saving people from a loss of a limb.
Yeah, the end stage of neuropathy, it's kind of like cancer. There's basically stage 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the tough part, because once they're turning purple, and you'll see those, and you'll see, and I hate to say, nasty feet. But what do they know? I mean, it's the wounds can't heal. I mean, there's just no life, no brain, no nerve flow, blood flow. And that's the tail end of this, which stinks if nothing's done. And the tough part is when you already see the toenails wiggling or falling off, or the wounds that won't heal. I mean, there's, again, the best way to say it, there's some unfortunately not pretty feet, which we've seen some turnaround, like the yellow fungusy toenails. It's so cool when you see that. Again, toenails grow over time, but when you see a toenail, the pink starts coming back. Like if it's like the toenail, the pink starts coming back all the way up right here. The nasty, I hate to say nasty, because it's, if it's your feet, you feel offended. I apologize if that's the case, but it's not beautiful. And it's unfortunate when you see your own feet turn that way.
Yeah.
But when you see them turn around, yeah. But boy, I tell you, when the people get to the end, they go, nothing can be done. That stinks, because they had that put in their head by someone who maybe didn't have the right tools. Not bad people, just people with the wrong tools, unfortunately.
You said something else, you're building a legacy. You're obviously, you have mentored me and instilled in me that this isn't just a business. It's not just an office. This is a ministry. And we've really, I have personally, and both Elle and I have taken it personally to heart to make this an absolute ministry. And I'm hoping this podcast, this show, this is a ministry as well. And so really, Dr. Wubben, I just want you to just kind of have the floor. Is there any final thoughts you have? Anything that you think our audience needs to hear from Dr. Wubben?
Well, I think the biggest thing is for the people who are hopeless. I mean, and that's the tough part, because when you think you're too far gone, that's not necessarily the case. And like you said, to inspire and build people up who are hopeless, I mean, that's kind of one of your callings, and why you're doing well is because you find those people. And so this goes for every category of life, not just your health. I mean, I'm talking your spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, relational, financial. I mean, just when I say financial, it's more of just Not that everyone has to be a billionaire, millionaire, but it's just kind of, if it's just, are we all just being good stewards of what we've been given? And that's that's a principle. But let's go now take that same principles are principles. They roll across everything. When it comes to your family, are you being a good steward with what you have been given? With your health, are you being a good steward with what you've been given? With your you name a category. It's just a good question. And when you're struggling in that category, this is where it's our responsibility to take action for the things in life, like our, parenting, our marriage, our, those things. Are you a good steward with what you've been given? Just start with that. And then if you can say yes, congratulations. You're probably seeing some of the fruit. And if you're not, congratulations. It's time to start today. Today is the best day to start being a good steward with what you've been given. It's just look at the beautiful things and the small responsibilities that you might take for granted, or those people or the things that you've been given. And hopefully you don't take them for granted. You say, all right, first gut check. Number one, am I a good steward with what I've been given? And when it's your health, and now let's talk about what we do here. It's that's what I would say specifically to your listeners. Just ask that question. And through that, you're going to probably find out, but don't beat yourself up. Take one step forward, build a tiny one. You're going to take a few back. That's called life. So that's probably what I would say to your listeners. And that you can really do that principle for the rest of your life.
Awesome. You are an absolute wealth of wisdom, and I absolutely appreciate you. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Absolutely, brother. Appreciate you too, Dr. Mosier, and you have a super, super blessed day.
Thank you.
All right.